Good evening, good evening. It is 6:31. I'm going to call this meeting to order at 6:31. I'm announcing that a quorum is present, and we're going to start with our Pledge of Allegiance. Would everybody please stand? Amen. Please take a seat. We're going to start this evening with our certificate of recognition. I would love for all of my baseball boys and our coaches to just come stand here facing this direction like you're going to take like a team picture. Does everybody get that? So come on up. Face that way. Good evening. I want to take a moment to recognize our Meadows Place 10U baseball team and the incredible season they just wrapped up. This group of young athletes showed us all what dedication, teamwork, and heart look like. They battled through elimination games and even the elements, coming from behind in a rain-soaked finish to defeat Deer Park and claim the title of 2025 Mustang Houston Region Championships. With that victory, they earned their spot in the Pony South Zone tournament in Louisiana, an amazing accomplishment for our city. Along the way, our community rallied behind them, raising over $1,400 at a bake sale to help cover travel expenses. That's what Meadows Place is all about, neighbors supporting neighbors. Although the team's journey came to an end at the zone tournament, these boys made history as the most successful Meadows Place All-Star team in more than 8 years, finishing with an impressive 9-4 overall record. Of course, none of this would have been possible without the dedication and sacrifice of their coaches, Sean, Greg, David, Nathan, and Jason. Thank you for the countless hours you poured into these players and for representing our community with such pride. To the players, you've made Meadows Place proud. To the coaches, you've set an example of leadership and commitment. And to the families and supporters, you've shown what it means to come together as one community. Congratulations, Meadows Place 10U. Okay, now I'm just going to call your name, and you're going to come get your certificate and then go right back to where you are. Got it? Okay. I will call at the end friends that are not here with us this evening. Elijah Rowan. We're going to do it this way. Jace Matamoris is not able to come with us this evening. Joel Wagner. Dean Mayhand. Arian Funtesilla. Braden Yell. Grant Johnston. Oh, you're going to have to say it. Tell me the last name one more time. Lawrence's? Nobasan. Lawrence Nobasan was not able to be here. Mateo Hernandez. not able to come. Matthew Autry. Milan Aleni. Skylar Agudelo. Thomas Martinez. Coach David Mahaffey. Coach Greg Yell. Coach Sean Johnston. Coach Jason Matamoris. And Coach Nathan Mayhand. I got two Jasons. All right. You want us to squeeze? You want me to get in the middle? You're next. You ready? You want to just stand here? I can give it to you. Do you want us to stand like this, or do you want us to stand like that? Excellent. Okay. Oh, I'm not? Okay, please come around. Thanks, Jack. Okay, the next item on our agenda is the proclamation for National Night Out. Yes? Okay, because I don't have the agenda in front of me. All right, I'm going to go ahead and read this proclamation and present it to Assistant Chief Jack. Proclamation National Night Out 2025. Whereas the National Association of Town Watch, NATW, sponsors a unique nationwide crime, drug, and violence prevention program entitled National Night Out. And whereas National Night Out is a national community building campaign that is a great opportunity for law enforcement and citizens to partner up against a crime. And whereas National Night Out promotes police-community partnerships, enhancing relationships between neighbors and law enforcement while bringing out a true sense of community. Whereas Meadows Place Police Department plays a vital role in assisting Fort Bend County through joint crime, drug, and violence prevention efforts in Meadows Place. And whereas it is essential that all citizens of Meadows Place be aware of the importance of crime prevention and programs and the impact their participation can have on reducing crimes, drugs, and violence in Meadows Place. And now, therefore, I, Mayor Audrey St. Germain, do hereby invite the residents of Meadows Place to join the Meadows Place Police Department and millions of Texans in supporting the 2025 National Night Out on October 7th, 2025, and do hereby proclaim Tuesday, October 7th, 2025 as a National Night Out in Meadows Place, Texas. There you go. All right, very good. Excellent. Okay, that brings us to the next item of our agenda, which is reports. We're going to start with Police Department, and Assistant Chief Jack Ashton is going to start us there.
Citizens, thank y'all for coming. We will start with the spreadsheet on the top of your packet for this reporting period, and a reminder that this reporting period is about a week short from normal. Number of reportable accidents, we had 8. Number of arrests, we had 5. Calls for service, 3,001. Number of reports taken, 47. Traffic citations issued 399 with 841 charges. There were 2 citations issued for a city ordinance violation, 121 warnings given for 156 charges, and then 18 warnings for city ordinance violations, which gave us a total activity count of 4,998. Excuse me. Moving down to the bottom with a little more detail, assaults, we had 2. Burglary of motor vehicle, we had 0. Burglary of business, 0. Burglary of a residence, 0. City ordinance violations, we had a total of 20 contacts. Criminal mischief, we had 0. Fraud or forgery, we had 0. Robbery, we had 1. Property checks, which includes the business checks, close patrols, the school checks, 3,091. Reported thefts, we had 4. Unauthorized use of motor vehicle, we had 0. In our TLC program, we had 22 to pass, 7 to fail, for a total of 29 contacts. A little more information at the bottom. In our city ordinance warnings issued, we had 4 for solicitor, 12 for junk vehicle and parking violations, 2 for loud noise. City ordinance violation citations issued, we had 2 for junk vehicle or parking violations. Again, just to recap, there were 8 reportable accidents this period, nothing in the roundabouts. We also had a total of 9 traffic hotspots based on various complaints around the city. 6 citations were issued for various traffic offenses in these. And then a little note there about us being in the school zone for a very heavy presence for the opening of school. Moving on into your packet. And as we slowly turn the pages, if you see something that catches your eye besides all of the 0 activity under burglary of everything, if something catches your eye on page 2, our robbery that we had, that at Walgreens, we had a male that went to the counter to pay for merchandise. When they opened the cash register, pushed them out of the way, and because he did use force, it becomes a robbery. Grabbed the money out of the cash register. The clerk was able to take a picture of him, and a customer at the time ran out the door to take a picture of his car. So the detectives have a couple of good pieces of information along with some flock information as well. So this is an active case. Moving down to the thefts. Normally we would just look at it, but unfortunately we have several thefts at Northern Tool that continue to just walk in, pick up things, and walk out with them. And one of them, they picked up a tool set, I believe, and a generator. And I guess they ran because they dropped the generator and weren't able to load it in the car, so that was recovered. But still, it's kind of frustrating that Northern Tool doesn't help us by improving it, and nothing else, their video system, because we rarely get video of any quality or significance from them. The theft at Walgreens that you see Officer Astorga was dispatched to a shoplifting call. He observed the 2 females leaving Walgreens, was able to detain them, and they returned back to Walgreens, and the property was recovered, and they were taken into custody for the theft. On page 4, we have our flock activity that it shows we had 113 hits for the reporting period. This is down 25 from last month. I should mention, so we read somewhere in the neighborhood of, I believe it's 68,000 license plates in a reporting period, and have been as high as 100,000 reads from our 11 cameras. So if you wonder what they're doing, it's just, that's how many people are passing by them, and nothing is of significance to us. And then, so you see that we had stolen vehicle alerts 2, sex offender was 68 with the 55 repeat offenders coming through. Stolen plates, we had 7. Gang suspected terrorist alerts, we had 1. 0 missing persons, 0 warrants. The protection orders, we had 33, 19 of which were repeat. And then other agencies, hot list, we had 2, 0 of violent persons. Below that, we have incidences where we have actually used Flock to our success that you see in the Walgreens theft that we had. And both of them. So both of those are Walgreens thefts where they were able to use the Flock information to locate a vehicle, which leads us to potential suspects. On page 5, total arrest, we had 5, which was the same as the previous month. We had 1 for assault and possession of a criminal instrument, 1 for DWI and possession of marijuana, 2 for theft, and then 1 that was unlawful carry of a weapon and possession of marijuana. And as we turn through that, we will work our way to page 6. About halfway down, you'll see notable information. So this typically is coming from CID, our investigators, that we had a missing person, possible sexual assault, harboring a runaway of a 13-year-old female who lives in Austin but was visiting her grandmother here in Meadows and had been texting and communicating with a 24-year-old male. And I think we've discovered that this is actually occurring, yes, in Houston. The little girl had left her grandmother's house for a day or two. Fortunately, she called us, and the detectives were out and on it and working back through the cell phones and so forth, able to locate her and then coordinate with Houston Police Department, since the actual offense was taking place in Houston's jurisdiction. Moving down to the theft at Walgreens, that patrol responded to a theft, which was a shoplifting, and made 2 arrests. One of the suspects arrested by this department in March of this year for warrants. So we have a repeat offender here, because this theft just happened a couple of weeks ago, but one of the 2 we've already handled before. And that will be something that our detectives enter in our information in the Flock system, so that if another agency happens to get a hit on the license plate, it'll show additional information and give them an idea of what they may be up to, as they do for us. This is a two-way street. Just a quick comment. I was on an assessment board today at Missouri City Police Department for their captain's positions. No, I wasn't applying for it. But naturally, when all of us get together, we start comparing notes, and Flock is a huge topic. And I was unaware that the city of Sugar Land has 234 city-sponsored Flock cameras and a total of 311. The additional cameras are sponsored by HOAs and businesses over there. So trying to pick their brain for how we might be able to get a little additional support from their activity. The last thing on page 7, CVS, they got information, had a vehicle that was reported stolen, developed additional information using Flock, and were working with Bel Air PD. Ultimately, it turned out it was not a legitimately stolen vehicle. Page 8, we're at the additional notes. The grants status probably looks almost the same, that we are about 90% complete with all 3 grants. Jerry Brownlee, our grants guy, has completed all of the paperwork and submitted it for us to get the governor's approval to start drawing down the money. I think we're at approximately $180,000. I was looking for Anna Maria because she could tell me that we're looking to get. Tonight, I believe you have on the agenda one final piece that we need, which is a resolution for one of the grants. But everything is completed and in motion. We did run into a little software hiccup with our new in-car camera. I talked to Doug this evening, our number one IT guy, and they've got that corrected, so we should be 100% in that project as well. So all three projects are completed. Our new Tahoe got striped, and it is out here in the parking lot. Hopefully the rest of our equipment will be in next week, and it will be going to the upfitters. We were fortunate that we got in ahead of everybody else in the area almost with their vehicle purchases coming into the new budget and everything. That seems to be working out for us, so thank you for the early approval on that. The next comment, again, appears to be the same. I know that Anna Maria is working diligently with both FEMA and TDM. I have just given in to her that I think we both have reached our limit, but actively still trying to recoup the final $5,000 or $6,000 for them for our administrative cost. And as far as I know, we've not received any updates. Feel free to help. That haven't gotten any more updates on our generator grants. We're assuming that they're in review. That's all that I have for that. We do have one spot, full-time position in patrol open at this time, but we do have one really, really promising applicant that Lieutenant Adamas is working on at light speed, and then we have a second candidate who is promising right behind the young lady that we're talking to currently. And again, just to give our guys, the troops, credit for being out in the school zone, that I think each year we get a little better of being out there and coordinating and also being visible to let everybody know we're there. And that concludes the report.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And I can tell you from my own experience that we were very appreciative of your presence that first week.
Good.
And continued. Council, are there any questions? Okay. Excellent job. Thank you. That moves us on to our report from Angie Hernandez about code enforcement.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Hope everybody's having a great evening. Okay, my June to August report. In June, I had 175 opened case violations, 73 closed. July, 109 with 147 closed. August, 14 and 8 closed. I worked a total of 6 days on the weekends. The month of June, there was 2, July 2, August 1. For my closed and open cases, June, there were 7 cases closed, 168, July 41, July closed cases 67, and August 13 with 1 closed. Citations, 1 in June, 3 in July, and 3 in August. A total of 7 citations with 7 violations on those citations given. Proactive cases, 234, reactive 11, violations closed type voluntary 228, forced were 0. Inspections for abatement were 2, notices sent were 1. I had calls from animal control, 4 calls came in, 3 possums and 1 skunk. For my top quarterly code enforcement violations, my top 4, we got high grass of 91, trash bins that are visible from the street, we got 70, deposited of accumulation trash 23, and exterior replaced, repainted, or repaired 11. Then I have a list on there that you can go over and look at. Code enforcement notes. I'm still working with the Dorrance address and the Brighton. Those are vacant homes still. So I'm having maintenance the lawns for each one of those addresses. I still haven't heard back from the attorneys on the Dorrance address, and I'm not getting any responses back from the Brighton address. So those are still being maintained. Are there any questions on my report or notes? No. Okay, I want to go over something else that I'm looking at out in the field when I'm doing my inspections. This is not on your list, but my focus right now is on RVs and trailers. I'm seeing quite a bit of those out on the driveways and in the streets. Courtesy time frame that I'm giving each resident that has a RV is 3 days, but they're exceeding those 3 days. So I'm looking to maybe bring that down to 2 days, or if I have to start writing citations, but it's getting a little bit overwhelming with those RVs.
So I have a question. I always thought it was kind of 7 days. For some reason, I had 7 days in my mind. Like if somebody was working on something, if they called you and let you know, I thought that we had a 7-day grace period. Is that?
We were doing 3 days for them.
Okay.
If they needed to clean the RV out, or if they were preparing to go on a trip, they were able to have their RV on their property for 3 days. And they would call me and let me know, hey, this is my address, and I'm going to keep it here for 3 days. If they exceeded that, then they would, call me and say, hey, I needed 1 more day, and I'd work with them. But now it's a little overwhelming. Was that too loud? That goes the same. That's the same with the trailers.
Okay.
So I'm working on that right now. I am sending notices if it's over 3 days.
Okay.
If I'm noticing, or if I'm getting a complaint.
Okay. But if they okay. So if they did call you, though, say somebody is working on one, and I think I do know of one of the instances that you're talking about, if they are working on it, they can at least call you and say, hey, you are kind of taking them as separate instances if they're communicating with you on what is happening.
Yes.
Is that okay?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
And I'll work with anybody.
Yeah.
They just have to give me a call and let me know the situation.
Agreed. And that's always been the case in the past, so I just wanted to make sure that still was, because I know in the past you have, if somebody has contacted you, you have worked with them. I just wanted to make sure that
correct.
that everybody knows that as long as there's open communication,
exactly.
That's okay. It's just when there's no communication.
So correct. So the newsletter that I sent out, it has my work number and my cell phone number on there. So if I'm not in the office, they can definitely reach me on my cell phone when I'm out in the field. So there's, they can always reach out.
Yeah, and just also keep in mind that these are administrative policies, that it's not codified in the ordinance. So the 3 days, whatever it might be. The way I always explain it is because Angie has the authorization to issue Class Cs, she has the discretion to work with people. And so we allow her the latitude to do that, and so that 3 day is really kind of a policy that she has internally. It's part of why she's mentioning this is because we want to inform council on the policy and what we're doing. If you guys want to tighten it up, give us feedback on something different, we're certainly here to hear that. But that's
definitely.
I'm good with it. I think your policy is good. Knowing that somebody can contact you and you're working with them, that you are kind of using them as a case by case, because things do come up.
Yes.
I do understand, if somebody say gets a new RV and they want to do a couple of repairs or something like that, as long as there's communication that you're working with them, and that's
Absolutely.
how it's been. So
Absolutely.
I'm
I'm always wanting to work with anybody, so that's great. The next thing I'm looking at out there, and I'm sure everybody else is noticing is trash and limbs and stumps from tree cutting. They have that out at the curb way before trash day. And I am writing up violation notices and sending those out because Texas Pride will not pick up the trash, especially the way they have it out there. It's not bundled or anything. So there's quite a bit out there. I've seen some on Montecito and just different areas. So, and I understand that everybody's trying to cut their trees down, trim and whatnot, but they are leaving their trash and tree limbs at the curb way before trash day. So just to let you know, I'm keeping my eye out on that. The next thing is real estate signs. I'm noticing quite a bit of real estate agents that are putting their signs up at easement. So I was given 3 days, giving them 3 days to remove them, but I think from here on out what I'm going to do is just remove them, place them at their door, take a picture, and call them and let them know that they were in violation. That way we can get that out of the way. Pretty much that's about it. Any questions or concerns? No, it's not.
I see on the packet, and this might be old, and yeah, it looks like it's old, the pool, list of pools. There's a list that came in here from 2023. Do you have an updated list of pools in violation, and is that still something that's on your radar, or have most of them been taken care of?
I do have a few. I don't have a printed one, but I can get a printed list of the pools that I have. Now, the Saturdays that I do work, there were maybe 1 or 2 that I noticed they were draining their pool water into the street. I gave them a citation for that. And I'm actually trying to work with one who's not responding to me. I left a door tag, sent him a notice and a certified letter to find out what's the progress on his pool. Did he refill it? What did he do? He hasn't responded back to me, so I'm having to go back and knock on his door. But I can get that list. I will research that.
Okay, just for your next report, maybe throw it in there. It was
absolutely
good to get an update on that.
Okay. Now, the Dorrance address, that was one of them that was on the list, the pool. I know I went back there, but I had to get a warrant from the judge to go on to the property. So if that's the case with that address, I'll have to do that again, just to go check the back of it. I from the street, if I can't see it, I can't do anything about it. But it is fenced up. When we had the Hurricane Beryl, the fence was down, so we had that repaired. So there's no entryway into the pool, which is great. But okay. I'll work on that list for you, definitely.
Yeah, no rush. Just next time you make a report,
yes,
it'd be good to get an update.
I can do that.
Thank you.
Any other questions, concerns?
Beans, you mentioned people trimming trees and stuff. I have noticed that there's some branches and shrubs that are blocking the stop signs and street name signs. So if you can kind of watch for that and
absolutely.
Try to get those owners to trim those back. I notice it most on Mulholland because that's the street I drive into the neighborhood.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely could do that. Now, if I see the tree trimmers out there, I will stop and I'll let them know that they cannot leave the branches and stumps and whatnot out at the curb, that has to be removed. But that's something they have to discuss with the resident, because I know that they charge a fee to remove that as well. So I don't know what their contract is with them, but I do let them know that, they have to either get rid of it, come back, or, do something with it just to move it out of the way, because it's not supposed to be there, period.
Well, I mean, these are the live trees. This is the branches still
branches
on the tree.
The trees hanging over?
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, I'll take a look at that as well. Thank you for bringing that up to my attention. Anything else? Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks so much, Angie. All right, that brings us to the next part of our reports, which is our city administrator report with Nick Habe.
Thank you, Mayor. The item that's on the agenda, utility rate changes, wanted to mention that the new rates that you just took up will be implemented. Residents will start seeing those rates beginning on next week's bill, so we'll be getting ready for that. Wanted to also mention under that recently we had a pretty large change at the AVR level, and I want to make a mention of the work that Anna Maria, as well as Jackie McCordick, our utility clerk, did in helping transition us with that change. They both answered a lot of questions. Jackie, in particular, assisted numerous residents about resetting passwords, logging on, re-signing up for credit card payments. A lot of work went into that, and I want to recognize the work they did to help walk a lot of our residents through that from a customer service perspective. Also want to say that now we can actually help set up recurring payments with residents at the window. So if you come in to pay your bill, for example, and you want to start doing recurring payments on your credit card, for example, we can actually help you do that. And it's kind of an added service that we're able to do. We're proud of being able to do here at City Hall. The other item that I wanted to mention that's actually not on the agenda, but going to ask forgiveness from our city attorney since she's in the room. I feel like it's an urgent thing I need to mention. We just got a date on September the 4th, the night of September 4th, starting at 10 p.m. and moving into 6 a.m. on September 5th. The city is going to hire a company to go ahead and restripe the entire intersection at our main intersection there at Airport and Kirkwood. That's going to require us to shut some lanes down, do that kind of thing, and so that'll happen overnight on the 4th into the 5th. So I wanted to mention that. Try to be as least disruptive as possible, but that should freshen up that intersection. And thanks to Rod for helping find the company to do it and getting her done. So that is my report tonight, Mayor.
Thank you so much. Any questions for Nick? Okay. That brings us to the next part of our agenda, which is public comments. This is different than the public hearing, right? I'm opening that separately. Okay, so we also have a public hearing tonight about our budget and tax rate. So at this time, I'm opening up public comments related to the agenda. Does that make sense for everybody? I'm going to officially open public hearing in a moment. So if you have public comments related to the agenda, okay, fantastic. Then that's what this is for. Thank you, sir.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, Terry Henley, 12203 Austin Drive. It has to do with TML Region 14 meeting. Of course, I'm still on the board of directors at TML and past president. We had a Region 14 meeting, which is hosted by the city of Sugar Land, with the Space Cowboys out at the Space Cowboy Park. So we had a good night last week, and the current president of TML Region 14 is Sally Branson from Friendswood. And I guess the comment I have right now is, does anybody on this council want to get involved in the regional and the state level? I'll certainly have the influence and can be able to help move you up. One time we tried to get Rick moving, and that didn't go. But anyway, I'm just saying that, that's how you move up to the board of directors. You got to be an officer in Region 14 and then move up to, get on the board. So it's up to y'all. I'd like to see y'all get more involved. And the other comment I had has to do with the annual conference in Fort Worth. I don't know, is anybody going to that? Good, okay, very good. A couple of comments concerning the, Bill Longley was there and talked about TML and some of the new laws that have passed. One has to do with the Open Meetings Act. They changed the law, and now it's not 72 hours, it's 3 business days. So if you have a meeting on Tuesday night, 3 business days is either, it's got to be Thursday night or Wednesday night, and there's open interpretation of that. It's what 3 business days are. Does it include Tuesday or does it not? So if it does not include Tuesday for your meeting on Tuesday nights, you've got to have it posted by Wednesday night. Okay. It's no long, and it's business days. There's a holiday in there, then you got to post it sooner. Okay. And the other comment that Bill had has to do with procurement from 50,000 to 100,000. Now you can procure things up to 100,000. You don't have to go out for bid, like the police department getting your cars. But if it's the new, I think it goes into effect 1st of September. Okay, so 100,000, you have to go out for bid. That should save us a few bucks on newspaper notices. Okay. Other than that, that was the summary of the meeting for Region 14. Anybody got any questions? Nope. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any more public comments? Okay. Moving on to mayor and council comments. We'll start with Rick and the mobility bond project.
So I can finally report a little bit of progress on the bikeway. Because Centerpoint was not returning my emails, I actually put in a couple phone calls, got a phone call back, got connected with the new government relations person, emailed with her last week and this week, and so we're trying to set up a meeting to talk about the design requirements and the signs that they don't want to allow us to use. If I can get through that, then maybe we can get moving closer to finalizing that project. I also had a phone call with Houston Parks Board this afternoon. They are in the running for a grant to put a bridge across Keegan's Bayous, come across West Belfort, and connect to our trail. They're asking us for letters of support from the city, and I'm also going to get one from the county for them. So they're supposed to be sending me the information so that we can do a letter of support. Not financial support, just social support. Yes, emotional support. And then it's not on here, but Dorrance Phase 3, we're still working on the contract with the engineer. They've given us a proposal. Our attorney's looking at it. I provided front-end documents to the city, I think today, that the county uses, and we can just change county to city for that contract. That way we can make sure that we're in compliance with our interlocal agreement with the county. Other than that, any questions? All right.
All right, thank you, Rick. I'm going to stay on topic and talk about CenterPoint Energy as well. I know that we have had lots of power outages and shortages over the summer. I've personally experienced many at my house. I have been in the email chains, on the phone with CenterPoint. The best thing that I can tell residents to do is call 713-207-2222 and report it every time. I'm a firm believer in squeaky wheel, and I am a squeaky wheel at your service at the city, and have been a squeaky wheel with CenterPoint. We are tied to the Stafford substation, and the Stafford substation has been under some construction, which I think has contributed to part of the problem. The other part of the problem is the vegetation growing on lines and around the CenterPoint infrastructure. So they've been working on the construction of the Stafford substation, but then they also did an investigation and found that vegetation and have sent crews out. They should be done shortly if they're not already done. They have been in contact with not just myself, but members of staff as well. We are with you. Many of us sitting up here live in Meadows Place and are also experiencing the power outages. So please know that your staff and your electeds are doing all the things that we can do. It is very helpful if our residents also submit tickets and do everything that you can do as well, so that when I get on the phone with them, I can say, I know my residents are submitting tickets, please look them up. So those are my mayor comments this evening. Now, we are on to our next agenda item. We are moving on to public hearings and related items. We're going to move to number 1. City Council will hold a public hearing to hear any and all persons desiring to be heard concerning the City of Meadows Place, Texas municipal budget for the fiscal year 2025-26. Do I need to read all 4 of these first? Yes. But do I read all four? No, just that one. Okay, so if you have comments, we are ready to hear them.
I'm Mike Besner, 11842 Mulholland. And this week, 50 years ago, is when we moved into our house. We've lived in that house for 50 years, and I don't know if we planned it like that, but it just happened. First of all, I want to know, why are you having a public hearing after you've already voted for the tax rate? Looks like you would like citizen input before you vote on this tax input.
Okay, so first, let me just say that this is a public hearing, so this is not intended to be a conversation back and forth, but I really do want to clarify. We have not voted for a tax rate. We have voted for a proposed tax rate. We are voting for the tax rate tonight. So what we're doing right now is we are hearing you about the budget. Then
what is it on the agenda that you said?
No, we have voted for our council has voted for a proposed tax rate. They did that in July. So tonight we have the opportunity to hear our residents about the proposed budget, which is what we're doing right now. Then council is going to discuss and consider the budget. Then we're going to hear residents about the tax rate, and council is going to discuss and consider the tax rate. Okay, so I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page. So right now, we're hearing your input about the budget that's been presented. None of that has been solidified or is official until this evening.
If you read the agenda, it says down at the bottom of it that everybody voted for the budget. That's the way I read it. So evidently you did not vote for the budget.
For the proposed budget. We have voted for what has been proposed. It is not solid until tonight after we hear you.
Mike, we have to vote on both the budget and the tax rate in order to publish the notices. That is just to get us, under state law, we have to do something to publish the notice so that the residents can look at something and see what we're going to be voting on tonight.
Okay.
So right
Doesn't
now,
make a lot of sense to me, but that's the way you have to do it.
it is. And you know what, government, that is what I'm learning, is a lot of times I'm like, this does not make a lot of sense, but this is the way we have to do it. So right now, we're hearing comments about the proposed budget. And then in a moment, then we're going to discuss the budget. And then in a moment, we're going to do comments about the tax rate.
Okay, is there going to be a vote tonight on the tax rate?
Yes. Oh. After the public hearing, like after we hear the public.
Oh.
Okay?
Okay.
Okay.
Well, I've been up here several years and my position has not changed, and that I think we should do away with the Nature Center because, number one, the citizens, less than 10% of the citizens use it. I've asked for a count on how many people or how many residents actually use the Nature Center, and I haven't gotten anything back. And to me, it's something that we don't need, and it's something that we can do without, and we can put our priorities in other things that we need: sidewalks, roads, things that people use every day, sewer, water. And I just wanted to bring up one instance. I was out walking my dogs on Montecito. I saw 2 hawks flying around. And there was also a hawk on the ground. Well, in a few minutes, the hawk on the ground flew up with a snake in its mouth about 2 feet long. And I hate to say it, but she was headed towards the mayor's house, and I don't know if he dropped it or whatever. But it was nice to see nature, and that didn't cost the taxpayers a damn dime while I was looking at that. But that's my position. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Are there any more comments on the budget?
I might as well comment. Concerning the budget, Terry Henley, 12203 Alston Drive. Based on the comments that I've heard and talking with Nick, it appears that at our current proposed budget and at the tax rate, that the proposed tax rate that was voted on last month, we'll still have some $300,000 left over after the budget was finalized for the capital projects, which is a good thing. So it appears that what y'all done with the budget and arriving at good numbers is where we need to be. Okay? Thanks.
Thank you, Terry. Any more comments on the budget? All right, I'm going to officially close the public hearing for the Texas municipal budget for fiscal year 2025 at 7:22. Now we're moving on to agenda item number 2, discussion and consideration of ordinance number 2025-28, approving and adopting the City of Meadows Place, Texas municipal budget for fiscal year 2025-2026.
Move to approve.
Wait, hold on. Do I need to start here? Okay. So we already have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
No, other than we've spent a couple different days on this, a lot of hours, a lot of staff hours to come up with this budget, and we're putting money to improve our infrastructure. We did provide some raises for all the staff, a little bit of additional for some of the police officers in order to minimize our turnover. If you've been reading social media or the newspapers lately, Fulsher, Rosenberg, all the rest of them are doing the same. So we're just barely keeping up.
Yeah, I'd add additional comment that it was a challenge this year for the budget. The staff did a really good job bringing it back. I'll move back from the microphone a little bit. Is that better? We have a 30% increase in our electric rate starting in January. That's going to be absorbed quite a bit in the public works, meaning our utility for the water sewer goes up. Overall, it's about $43,000 more that we're going to have to spend on electricity starting in January. Last year and this year, we've had increases with the fire department. We contract through Stafford, and our agreement with them goes through 2026. At some point in that point in time, we'll have to look at adjusting that again.
Yes, we will.
And as Rick said, we to keep from having our police department cannibalized, we made some adjustments there. We also made some adjustments with salary increases, or it's not really increases, it's adjustment, more of a COLA adjustment for our staff. We cut thousands of dollars, I think in excess of $20,000 from Parks and Recreation in order to keep the budget in line. So we've canceled some of the Friday night events at the park. We've done a lot to minimize our expenses this year, not knowing where we were going to be on our tax rate. We were looking at having a tax rate that would allow us to put money towards infrastructure, which we've been doing. And I think thanks to the hard work of the staff, they've come back with a zero budget at, I think, 0.9, which allows us additional monies if we want to go to our proposed tax rate of 0.94 or 94 cents and allow that extra go to infrastructure. So I think with all of that, we're going to get into a discussion in a minute about the tax rate itself, but the budget was built so that we would have some flexibility to put money towards infrastructure and really hold our expenses in line this year, knowing that we had increases in a couple of big areas.
Thank you so much, David. That was thorough and informative. Any other discussion? Okay, I have a motion and a second, and I will now call upon each council member by name to take the record vote. Once your name is called, answer aye to signify your approval of the motion, or nay to signify your disapproval. Okay. Councilmember Baker, state your vote.
Aye.
Councilmember Stagley, state your vote. Councilmember Kopczynski, state your vote. Councilmember Merton, state your vote. Let the record reflect that Councilmember Merkley is absent and did not vote. Motion carried. All right, that brings us to the next item on our agenda, which is the City Council will hold a public hearing to hear any and all persons desiring to be heard concerning the 2025 tax year proposed property tax rate for the City of Meadows Place, Texas. I'm now opening the public hearing at 7:26 p.m. Are there any comments on the proposed tax rate? Anna Maria has a comment.
Anna Marie Weston, Finance Director. The budget and the tax rate kind of go hand in hand. I do want to make sure everyone is aware that the property tax rate that is set determines a key revenue line item in the budget, and that is your current valorum taxes. That number determines exactly how much will go to your infrastructure, the extra to your infrastructure. The proposed budget that you just approved, that was published a month ago, was based on the property values that we got from the CAD before the certified numbers came out. So the published proposed budget said $332,000 would be the additional going to infrastructure. I want to make sure that everyone is aware that once we got those certified numbers, the values were lower, and at that 0.943 640 proposed tax rate at the time, not that much is going to go into the infrastructure. It was ultimately $183,000. So it is different, but it's based upon the certified numbers that we got. So I just want to make sure everyone's aware of that and clarify that.
The original 250 that was in the budget is still there.
Still there.
So it'd be 250 plus the 183.
Correct.
Assuming the 0.94.
Whatever the tax, so ultimately, the proposed tax rate will ultimately affect two line items in the budget: the current valorum taxes, that number, as well as the amount that's going to be transferred. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anna Maria. Do we have any other public comments about the tax rate?
Okay. Terry Henley again. So the current budget is based on the tax rate of 943,640. Is that correct? And it will not be 300 plus on revenue versus expense. It's going to be about 180.
It depends on how you look at it, but over and above the 250 that's already in there for infrastructure, it'll be 150 on top, 180 on top of that.
Right. Puts it close to 400.
The 300 that we had talked about is way back when.
So
when we didn't have the certifieds yet.
The 300 in the budget, 300 over revenue over expenses, was based on the rolls back in July.
Terry, we had to guess on what our we had to guess on what our no new revenue rate was going to be.
Right.
And we guessed too low.
Well, yeah, I was involved in that, and we went with a higher rate, and it wasn't enough.
It still wasn't enough. Yeah.
Correct. I understand. And the proposed tax rate, which you have set at 943,640, what was proposed in July, is going to be difficult to make it any higher than that from a political standpoint, and maybe even a legal standpoint.
Legally, we can't, because that's what we advertised.
and that is what I would recommend you setting the rate tonight, because it's going to be a little bit less than no new tax revenues. A few of us will have fewer dollars to pay in our taxes, city taxes, except Kurt. You know, he's the one that's sitting there with that nice house. But anyway, that's all I have. Just, comment that, we're going in the right direction. Thanks.
Thank you, Terry. Really appreciate it. Any more comments about our tax rate? Okay, I'm going to close our public hearing at 7:31. That moves us on to agenda item number 4, discussion and consideration of ordinance number 2025-29, providing a property tax rate for the levy and a collection of ad valorem taxes by the City of Meadows Place, Texas, for the year of 2025. I just want to state for the record that Council held a public hearing on the 2025 tax year proposed property tax rate. Council must take action and set the 2025 property tax rate at the conclusion of the public hearing. City Council set proposed maximum tax rate for fiscal year 2025-26 at 0.943640 per $100. There is no INS debt portion of the rate, as the city carries no debt at this time. When council votes on the tax rate, it's going to be a record vote. Okay? Wait. Discussion and consideration. Is there any discussion?
Well, we don't have a motion yet.
We can discuss without a motion.
Okay. I will move to set the tax rate at 0.94364 per 100. That was our maximum number, right?
Yes, 943,640. Yes, that's our max. As a reminder, I missed this part. The rate of 1.053230 is the de minimis rate. The rate below the rate is below the no new revenue rate of 0.953800 and the voter approval rate of 0.992082.
Right, but we advertised a number.
We advertised at 0.943640.
I'll second the motion.
And a second from Tia?
And, okay, so now we can discuss?
Yes. Go for
Okay,
it.
I just want to say, I know last year we really fight to keep that tax rate as low as possible, but I think with the work that the staff has done to really cut the budget and try to make savings where we can, on top of our tax roll being a lot lower than what we were expecting, and all of the infrastructure challenges that we have, we've done a really great job with staff of making sure we can put as much money into infrastructure as possible. So I personally feel comfortable this year in going with that rate.
The only other comment I'll make is that, and I think Mr. Henley said it well, most people in Meadows are going to see a decrease in what they pay in their property taxes for the city of Meadows. So even with a rate increase, because the taxable values are estimated to be, or the appraised values are lower, the actual taxes that you pay for the city this year will be lower. It just depends on the value of your house. Most houses will have that. And that's why when we did the estimate, we thought going with this 0.94 would have put us at the just below what would be required to call an election for a tax increase. Mm-hmm. That wasn't our intent to have a big tax increase, but we do want to take the additional revenue that we're getting, and that's why I said it's a great job by the staff.
Yes.
To minimize the additional costs that the city will incur this year and cut some things that people are going to ask about. Why did you cut this? Why did you cut that? We cut that because we feel infrastructure is an important thing, and we weren't sure what was going to happen with these property values. Now that we know, could have said, hey, we should have gone 0.99, but we're going to stay with what we had recommended, and I concur that it's going to be a year where people are going to see on their tax bill a lower taxes, particularly those with over 65 and with homestead exemption.
Okay. Any other discussion? All right, I have a motion and a second. I will now call upon each council member by name to take the record vote. Once your name is called, answer aye to signify your approval of the motion, nay to signify your disapproval. Councilmember Baker, state your vote.
Aye.
Councilmember Stagley, state your vote. Councilmember Kupczynski, state your vote. Councilmember Mertens, state your vote. Let the record reflect that Councilmember Merkley is absent and did not vote. Motion carried. Okay. We are moving on to regular agenda. We're going to start with agenda item number 1, conduct a separate vote to ratify the property tax increase reflected in the City of Meadows Place, Texas municipal budget for the fiscal year 2025-2026. This vote, it seems silly because we just did this, but this vote must be a record vote that is in addition to and separate from the vote adopting the budget or the vote required to set the tax rate that is provided by Chapter 26 Tax Code or other law.
I'll make the motion.
I have a motion. No, we can say to ratify the property tax increase reflected in the municipal budget for fiscal year 2025-26 adopted on August 19th, 2025.
That's what I'll say then.
We have a motion. I have a second. Is there any discussion? Okay. I will now call upon each alderman by name to take the record vote. Once your name is called, answer aye to signify your approval of the motion or nay to signify your disapproval. Alderman Baker, state your vote.
Aye.
Alderman Stagley, state your vote. Alderman Kupczynski, state your vote. Alderman Mertens, state your vote. Let the record reflect that Alderman Merkley is absent and did not vote. Motion carried. Okay, moving on to agenda item number 2, regular agenda item number 2, discussion and consideration of resolution number 2025-23, authorizing the mayor to execute final change order number 2 for Dorrance Lane Reconstruction Project, Phase 2, allowing Tandem Services LLC a net decrease of $151,150.31. This change order is to finalize quantities based on those installed in the field. It also includes the removal. It also includes the remove and replace stop signs and street names at Dorrance and Bloomington and replacement of a new street name at Dorrance Lane and Oxford Glen intersections. I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? We really did, though. It was fantastic.
And just to clarify, the extra money can go towards phase 3, correct? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yes.
So 151,000 or so under budget that's going to go towards phase 3 of Dorrance reconstruction. So gets us a head start right there.
We're very pleased.
Yeah.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, that moves us on to agenda item number 3, discussion and consideration of resolution number 202524, authorizing the police chief to submit a grant application for the car camera replacement, City of Meadows Place, grant number 5106301. This is housekeeping. It's just a housekeeping item. So I got a motion? Second? Is there any discussion? Okay. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Regular agenda item number 4, discussion and consideration of resolution number 2025-25, authorizing the mayor and city secretary to enter into a 2-year extension agreement with VSP Vision Care for employee independent vision coverage. And I'm going to kick it to Chandra.
Previously, the city had a contract for 2 years, with VSP, and when I reached out, which was expiring on September 2025, they notified me that we were granted an additional extension for an additional 2 years with no change, no rate coverage change. So now we're locked in from 2023 through 2027.
Move to approve.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Discussion and moving on to regular agenda item number 5. Discussion and consideration authorizing the repair of the water main at Brighton Lane and Mulholland Drive in the amount of $62,500 by Power Scoop Utility. Reminder that we can't authorize utility line items over $50,000. So that's why this is on the agenda. And Rod, I believe, has more information about this.
Yeah,
and
thank you,
Nick
Mayor.
as well.
Yeah, I didn't do an AI form for this, so thank you for, that was good. That was a good job. This is a last minute item that we picked up on right before we had to post. You'll notice that one of the handouts that I put on the desk in front of you is this blown up image of a portion of a plat. That's going to come in handy as Rod quickly explains the issue here and why we're needing to spend this money at this location. And he's going to give us a quick crash course on what easements are and all that good stuff. So, proceed, Rod.
Evening, Mayor and Council. As you can see on the segment of the plat that you're showing there, the waterline easement is dedicated, and the waterline easement is also located inside the property line. The issues we face are, number one, that resident has a concrete fence about 7-8 feet tall that completely encloses the waterline easement, and there is no access. A couple of weekends ago, on a Saturday evening, I received a call from Power Scoop saying that they had a water leak, 8-inch water leak, in behind the fence. It's a concrete fence, and so they asked my permission to remove the fence, and I gave it, obviously, to fix it, make it repair. The problem we have is that inside that side yard for that resident, we have fruit trees, we have a gazebo, we have other plantings, and everything in his yard. So technically it shouldn't be there, but that happened because the plat allowed it to be inside the fence when it was originally platted. So what we're faced with now is an 8-inch water line, which is AC, and it's already broken once, and it's inside this gentleman's concrete fence, and it is within 1 foot of the water line easement. We have a very large swimming pool. If the water line lets go in that area, we could be buying ourselves a swimming pool. So the solution that I'm proposing is to replace the water line with new PVC pipe from the corner of Brighton and Mulholland, 1 block north on the west side of the street. We will have to move 4 services that are on the opposite side of the street, 2 of them out of this gentleman's yard and 2 in the next yard to the north. So the cost of that is about $62,500. The reason I want to do it is that we have a certain amount of liability exposure with regard to the fence, which we have already had an estimate of $8,500 to repair. No details yet, but it's still, we took 3 panels out and they broke in our hands as they were taking them out. And then we have the gazebo, we have a swimming pool. I'm very concerned about future water leaks damaging private property. So the solution is bore inside the water easement, put in new PVC pipe, transfer the services, and we should be safe. Now, we could stop and just wait until something else breaks, but that's not just the way I roll. I requested Power Scoop to give us this estimate, and I'm fairly comfortable with it. Questions?
So we're going back into that easement, or are you moving it into the right-of-way?
I'm staying in the easement, in the dedicated waterline easement. If you go too far out into the right-of-way, I mean, eventually Mulholland is going to be reworked, and we're stabilizing 2 feet behind the curb. We're getting dangerously close to that water line if we move it over there.
So still on the water line, but outside the fence. I'm sorry, still in the easement, but outside the fence.
No, still in the easement, but still inside the fence. That water line easement is inside that gentleman's yard. His side yard is completely a water line easement.
Oh, that's right, okay.
There's no portion of the water line easement that's outside of the fence.
He's completely enclosed the water line easement with the concrete fence. You can look back and say that's a permitting issue. Never should have been allowed. There was no setback on the water line easement for the swimming pool. They're 1 foot off of the water line easement. So at a minimum, it could be 6 feet away from the side of that swimming pool. If that 8-inch line lets go and it leaks for a couple hours, are we going to damage that pool? I'd rather not take that chance.
So how far are we able to move?
We'll be able to move a couple of feet and go a little deeper. Get it deeper and get it away from what's happening on the surface. And we put PVC pipe in, it won't break. The reason the water line broke was that he has these fruit trees and he's watering these fruit trees. Well, if you water over here and don't water over here, expansion, and that's what happened. The line just sheared right in the middle. The resident has asked me to move the water line out of his yard, but it's a dedicated water line easement. I don't see.
Yeah, I'm more looking at how did we end up with a fence that enclosed our water line?
I agree. The first problem was when it was platted. When it was platted, his property line is on the inward side going to the right-of-way of the easement.
That's common, but usually there's other language. Well, now there's other language that would prevent that fence. Now,
I agree. It's
back in 80 or whenever this was platted, it might have been a little bit different.
I never, if I had reviewed the plat, I never would have allowed it, and I'm sure Nick wouldn't have either.
Don't. I'd have been sure. But that fence has been there since...
It's been there a long time. This is the corner of Mulholland and Brighton. Northwest corner, right? Yeah. Agreed. It's just whether the city wants. The city is, to me, the city has been lax in protecting our easements. And it is probably something that we should discuss in a workshop at some point in the future. I know a lot of people have sheds and everything else on their back easement. We don't have to get back there very often for the sanitary, but if we do and we have to tell somebody to move their shed or whatever, it's a fight that you can avoid by just making sure they don't have things in the easement. I deal with this at the county all the time, and if you don't protect your easement, it's just a bigger fight later.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of existing private property and easements. I think today's environment, our plan reviewers, if it's a permittable improvement, they're going to absolutely check to see if there's those improvements. I'm thinking like pool decks and that kind of thing. They'll deny it or they'll reject it if there is something in an easement nowadays. But there's a lot of stuff that's been there for many years, or things that just didn't ever get permits. A 10 by 10 shed, something like that. So obviously easements, they own the land, but we own the right to access it. And it's not just us, it's also other utilities.
Yeah, I understand.
Rod, since we're boring, are we eliminating risk of damaging the existing fence by going that route? Okay, so that's why we're doing... Okay. You had mentioned 60-something thousand.
from the water line. So if it lets go again, then I'll have a 8-inch water line gushing 6 feet away from a swimming pool. It probably should have had a setback, but that's a permitting issue. That's two mistakes that we made. The plating issue, having the water line easement inside the fence, and then the permitting issue of having the pool so close to the water line easement. We could leave it there, do nothing. It might never break.
Yeah, I mean, this 62.5 is Rod's solution to what we think is an inevitable waterline break.
It's AC pipe, and it is susceptible to breaks, especially when it's getting irregular watering. And that's why I believe that the line broke in the first place.
He's looking out for his successor who's going to end up having to deal with this.
Yeah.
If it breaks again, he'll be standing here in front of you.
Yeah. Council, I think we're going to, this is the best way to go in the short term, but I think we do need to visit the discussion of easements, protecting our easements, and then maybe even what do we do about this property that I question on whether that fence is legal, even if it was permitted. But then you may get into a taking situation. But I think that's just a discussion we need to have, and for council and staff to understand the importance of making sure we get the permitting correct, and what all these lines mean on a plat and what our ordinances mean. I've had a discussion with someone that put the edge of their pool into the easement.
That's an even bigger problem.
And CenterPoint had to go in and tore out the side of his pool, and he was asking who was going to replace his. Well, he was in the easement, so that was his cost.
Yes, and that's one of the facts, is that everything this gentleman has is in our easement, except for the pool. It's just the proximity is 1 foot off the easement line. We could ask him to move all this stuff, but...
his fruit trees are in the easement too?
Fruit trees are in the easement. There's a gazebo in the easement. What else is there? More plantings or a garden?
Yeah, if we wanted to, we could have him remove the trees and the gazebo in order to bury this instead of bore. But I am concerned about the fence.
Yeah, that was my first thought as well. We'll just go in there and we'll replace the water line, and we'll be done with it. Then I looked at it.
So I do want to commend Rod for coming up with a solution that's as least intrusive as possible for the property owner, and yet we still have the dilemma of the private improvements on easements, which we do run into often.
I'll move to approve.
Do I have a second? Let's tie Tia. So Rick moved, Tia seconded. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Rod.
Thank you, ma'am.
All right, moving on to our last agenda item. This is discussion and consideration regarding water infrastructure tap fees in the city of Houston, in the city of Meadows Place. We have all the parties involved here that need to be part of this discussion. We have Heather, our lawyer. We have Mr. Khan and Mr. Ali here. We have Nick and Power Scoop and Rod and Rick. And David and Tia and Kurt. So we really do need to pick your brains about tap fees. Nick had a really wonderful, I think Nick should start with why we have tap fees. I think that's a good place to start this conversation.
Tap fees are a little bit different from impact fees. Impact fees by state law require a study, and that study is to be revisited every 5 years. Tap fees don't have that same statutory requirement. However, tap fees do pay for very similar, have this fairly similar function, which is essentially maintain, improve, and expand your water and sewer infrastructure as new taps get added to your system. Excess capacity is important because if you have no excess capacity, you have no room for growth. And so that's why tap fees exist. The tap fee ordinance that we have in Chapter 51 of our ordinance has existed since at least the year 2000, likely much earlier than that. I did a quick look today. There was an ordinance in 2006. There was an ordinance back in 2000. And then that ordinance in 2000 replaced a previous code that I couldn't find. So it goes back a long time, probably 30, maybe even 40 years. We've talked about tap fees in the past, even in the recent past. You might recall that we talked about tap fees when we dealt with the fire line, or the sprinkler system over at the 11720 West Airport. So let me kind of set a general stage for you today. We have had some recent meetings in the last several days, the last several weeks, with the two property owners here in the room, Mr. Khan and Mr. Ali. We have come to a conclusion with the fire chief, the fire marshal, the public works director, that they do need a dedicated fire line to serve the sprinkler system that is in the building. All that to say, a new tap is going to be required. That tap is going to be for an 8-inch meter, and that 8-inch meter, in order to install, we obviously have our operator do that work for us, and that installation cost, if you see in the handout I have here, is laid out for you. Now you might recall that if you look at Chapter 51.07, B3 tells you what the tap fee would be on a water meter that's larger than 1 inch. And it's going to be 3 times the city's actual cost of installing the tap, meter, and necessary service lines, repairing or restoring any yards, sidewalks, streets, or other improvements affected by the installation. We call that the installation costs. If somebody asks us, let's say a private property owner or a developer asks the city council for relief on a tap fee, in other words, can you waive the tap fee? The city attorney's answer is
no. As a general law municipality, you have to have specific authority granting that ability to waive, and you do not have that authority.
We did not rehearse this. So that adds a second question to the mix. When you read the ordinance, and you read B3, and it talks about installing a tap, the invoice that the city gets from PowerScoop, we take that amount and we triple it. And that's your tap fee. It's 3 times the amount that you see. That installation cost includes labor and equipment and parts and materials. If property owner wants to supply or work with our contractor to, let's say, purchase the parts and equipment so that the city's invoice only includes the labor and materials, that dramatically drops the impact fee. But it's an interpretation question, because the ordinance says 3 times the cost of installing the tap. It doesn't say that the city or the operator has to purchase the equipment. Does that make sense? And in talking with the city attorney, after much gnashing of teeth, we agree that that is a unique interpretation of the ordinance. That is not an illegal interpretation of the ordinance. So 2 questions remain, and I want to bring this to council's attention. Actually, before we get there, I think PowerScoop, who's in the room, is everything that I've said. From your perspective, if you had the equipment, or if the equipment is either given to you, or let's say the money for the equipment was given to you and you purchased the equipment with that money, for example, if you put that in the ground and we paid for the installation of it, you would still warranty that equipment, same as if you purchased the equipment. Is that true? Okay. Knowing all of that, we're in a unique situation, because this is the first time that I know of that this scenario has occurred where the option for a third party to purchase the parts and materials drastically lower the impact fee, or I'm sorry, the tap fee. Is everybody tracking? So, Two questions. Number one, is council okay with that interpretation? And number two, do we need to revisit the ordinance to see if we need to not only look at the way it's worded, but also is 3 times the cost of installation still a good amount? Because remember, this is not an impact fee, so we're not doing a study to worry about the impact on the system and new water plants and new wastewater facilities. This is a tap fee that essentially hits the city's infrastructure fund that we then use to maintain the system. I know it's a lot. Rod, have I missed anything? Yeah, how about that? No, I don't. Let me just generally ask real quick. Anybody have any comments, thoughts, concerns, grievances about what we've talked about so far?
Well, I think if it's allowed, we should be talking with our attorney in closed session about the interpretation.
Mayor, if you'd like to close open session and recess to closed session to discuss with your attorney the interpretation issues, we can do that.
Yes, I would like to do that. Is there specific verbiage I need to say, or is me saying we're going to move into closed session at 8:02 acceptable?
That's perfect.
Fantastic. All right, we are now recessing into closed session. Okay, welcome back. Welcome back. We're going to return into open session at 8:23 p.m. And I'm going to let Rick summarize executive session.
Sure. Based on the discussion with our attorneys, the interpretation of the code would allow for the owners to purchase the materials directly with PowerScoop, and the tap fee would be just on the actual installation cost. So, what was that?
No, we don't need a. If you would like to comment, you're welcome to come comment.
So, if I understand it correctly, the tap fee is going to be around $60,000 here. I wanted to let you guys know that we are in an effort to build this center.
Mm-hmm.
Ali and I have been on it for the last 4 months. We've got a lot of tenants that we're looking to lease to. We've got potential tenants. We have now signed leases that we're working on. We're going to end up spending between $5 to $8 million here within the center.
Mm-hmm.
So this $60,000, we would ask if you guys can even reduce that, if possible, because every bit's going to help. We are going in here looking to spend a lot of money, and starting off on top, hitting us with a fee would be hard. I understand that you guys have reduced it a whole lot.
Significantly,
but I wouldn't be doing justice to our family business if I didn't ask for anything else that you guys could do to help us would be totally appreciated. So I'll leave it at that.
All right. Thank you, Sam.
I believe the original question was, could we waive the tap fees, and the answer was no, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
That's correct. There are
we're not
constitutional prohibitions on gifts of public funds, so.
Not asking to waive the fees, we're asking to reduce the fees if possible.
Okay.
Those are the actual costs for the city, so anything less than the cost, we would be waiving the fee.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Ali.
Thank you.
Okay, we do not need to vote on this item. That brings us to consent agenda.
Move to approve.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. With no further business to discuss, this meeting is adjourned.